Hello, my friends, and welcome to Lean and Clean with Fitness Chef Christine. I'm Christine, your host, and today we're gonna make some really healthy, wonderful taco filling with beef. So we're gonna braise this beef in a nice spicy tomato sauce, otherwise known as birria. We're gonna go ahead and salt all of our beef because we want everything to be nicely flavored. And then I'm gonna, in an Instant Pot, I'm gonna take it in batches and sear it off. So let's go ahead and put that on there. And I'm gonna get myself some tongs. The reason I wanna do this in batches is because we want to make sure that every surface gets nice and golden brown. I'm gonna add a little bit of avocado oil in there because it can withstand high heat. And then we're just gonna put in our short ribs so that there's not any crowding and they have room to get browned. Those brown bits are gonna be very important when we get our sauce together, because that's what gives it that wonderful flavor. And that is what we want, my friends. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and sear all of that. Get that started. I need my glasses because I'm old. All right, so we've got it on saute. Now, obviously you can do this on the stovetop and then transfer it into the pot once they're all brown, but this gives us a one pot deal, so that's less to work with. So while that is searing, we're gonna go ahead and get everything together for our sauce. Move this over a little bit. So I was lucky in that I found some already chopped dried chilies. Dried chilies are fabulous because they have a ton of flavor. Now, the only downside to having them already chopped is there are seeds in them. So if you're particularly not a lover of super spice, use this sparingly. If you're a lover of spice, this is a great way to go because not only does it have spice, but it has a lot of flavor to it. We're going to go ahead and sear this off, and I will come back and show you how to do the sauce. All right, so all of these have been seared. Put on a plate. They're gonna rest while we make our sauce. So let's do that. All right, I have one bunch of cilantro in here, 4 Roma tomatoes, half a bag of those chopped chili peppers, 1 cinnamon. I've got oregano and cumin, and I have 1 chopped onion. That's all gonna go into our pot with all the beef drippings. Get that in there. We'll get that working. Of course, we'll add a little bit of salt and some black pepper. Now, I'm still on that saute mode, so we wanna keep that going just a little bit to brown off those onions a bit and use up those little bits of fat and pieces of meat that are on the bottom. That's gonna make this so delicious. So we're just gonna let that saute for a minute and get those tomatoes breaking down. And then I'm gonna add some water to that and let that come to a boil. And then I'm going to use the pressure cooker for about 5 minutes and let it really get thick, and then we'll puree it. We'll take out that cinnamon stick because that's a little difficult to puree. We'll get that nice and smooth. And then we'll put the meat back in there to cook with the sauce. It's gonna be incredible. We've been sauteing for a couple of minutes. You can see the tomatoes are starting to break down. The smell is incredible. I'm gonna go ahead and add some water with about a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar that's been added to that for some acidity. If you don't like apple cider vinegar, you could use some lemon juice. But you do want that acidity in there to balance out all those flavors. And I forgot to mention I did add a bay leaf as well. So we'll go ahead and keep stirring that. I'm gonna go ahead at this point and stop the saute, and then I'm gonna put it on, as I mentioned, we'll put it on pressure cooking. So we'll get that thing started here. I'm just gonna do 5 minutes on pressure cook, so it won't take us very long. And then we'll puree that and put the meat back in and set it to stew and be good to go. All right, my loves, I'm back. Always be aware that you can boat motor stuff, or you can take it out and put it into a blender. So let me show you what it's looking like now. This is our sauce. It's all nice and concentrated. The smell is amazing. So I'm just gonna take this apart, and I'm going to go ahead and unplug that and plug this in. And then we're gonna puree it. But before I get to that, you wanna make sure that you take out anything that you don't want pureed. First things first, we're gonna take out those bay leaves. We don't want any pureed bay leaves. And then we're gonna take out that cinnamon stick because it's just too hard to process. So we gotta fish it out here. There's our cinnamon stick. Tap that off. And let's find our bay leaf here. Sometimes it's like fishing. Gotta find it in here. Usually they float right to the top, but I'm not seeing it. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and puree. So it's nice and smooth. One more bay leaf there. Go. Right. Now the rest of it will cook down because now we're gonna add that beef in there. Just set that aside. We're gonna add that beef back in there to cook in this broth. It will make it amazing. Now there's a lot of beef in here, so we're just gonna stack it up. Try and fit it in there like a little puzzle pieces, knowing that it'll cook down and it will shred really easily at this point. That tomato and that little bit of apple cider vinegar is gonna help break it down wonderfully. So I'll be doing it in 2 stacks here. Having the short ribs, you've got the bone in, so you've got that extra cartilage in there, which makes it nice and gelatinous, which is great. That's what we want. All right, so now we're gonna add extra water to that. And then it will just braise. Now you can do this on slow cook or you can do this on stew. I'm gonna go ahead and do it on stewing, and then I'll show you in a little bit what it looks like. So worth all the steps. This is what the meat looks like after it is out of the slow cooker. And this is what the sauce looks like. I'll show you how much it made. And so it's gonna sit overnight in the sauce. And then tomorrow I'm going to show you how we put it all together. All right, so let's pick up where we left off. I shredded the beef and then I added it to the pureed sauce. And then I refrigerated it overnight. So what that does then is to give us this nice thick part of all the fat that I can just skim off. Once we've done skimming this off, then I'm gonna heat this all back up again. I wanna make sure we don't get that beef in there, skim off there, just the tiniest little bit of the fat. Then we're gonna heat it back up, dip our tortillas, our corn tortillas in the sauce, and then we're gonna go ahead and assemble everything. It is so good. I know it probably seems like a whole lot of steps, but honestly, it's mostly just waiting for it to cook down. The rest of it's simple, real breezy. So now that I've got the majority, you can leave a little bit of the fat in there because you want flavor. Now that I got the majority of that, I'm gonna go ahead and reheat everything so that I can dip my tortillas in there and then get that meat in there and go from there. I'll show you what's coming up. Alrighty, we're ready to assemble. So you have choices. You could use flour, you could use corn. I like the taste of corn a little bit better because it's a little more authentic, but from an ease of use, flour is much easier. So that's what we're gonna do. We're going to dip our tortilla in our sauce. So just a quick little hit of the sauce. Then you're gonna go non-dip sides down. I added a little bit of avocado oil, just a neutral oil, to our pan. And then we're gonna add some of that shredded, actually we're gonna add a little bit of cheese first on just one part of it. Then we're gonna add that shredded beef in that sauce. That nice sizzle. The juice of the sauce, the meat is nice and juicy. I'm gonna add a little bit of fresh cilantro and some diced onion. Got those nice fresh flavors in there. And a little bit more of that cheese at the top there. And we're just gonna fold that in on itself. It will get nice and crispy. And then we just stack them up and we serve it with a side of Birria sauce. Then you dip it and eat it and dip it and eat it. It is so tasty. I hope that you try it. I hope you love it. I'd love to hear your feedback. Sorry to talk my mouth full. But it's a great way to get a lot of vegetables into the sauce. A good amount of protein with not too many carbs. It's really delicious, and I think that you're really gonna like it. If you're not a person that wants to have the tortillas, you can absolutely do this as a salad. So you would get your shredded greens and any other kind of vegetables that you want, and then you top it with the beef and then the sauce, and it's just fantastic. So any way you look at it, it's delicious. I hope you give it a shot. As always, leave me some feedback. You can do it on Apple Podcasts, or you can even leave me a comment on Spotify or YouTube. I'm always open to hearing what you have to say, and any kind of request that you want, I always love to hear that too. I wish you a blessed day. Please stick with me if you have not followed. Please do. Mwah! Wishing you happy cooking.